j'ai trouvé que les anciens commissaires avaient déjà fait. I'm waiting for my colleague Lita to put the earphones so that I can continue. I was saying, quand j'avais rejoint la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples en 2017, j'ai trouvé un travail qui avait déjà été fait par les anciens commissaires, en adoptant la résolution 275 ou 275, une résolution très dans l'histoire de la protection d'une catégorie d'Africains et des personnes d'ailleurs, qui ont choisi l'Afrique comme étant leur second continent sur cette question d'orientation sexuelle. Ils avaient compris, ça n'avait pas été facile pour eux, qu'il fallait protéger ces personnes, je dis bien protéger ces personnes qui ont une identité sexuelle qui leur est propre, qui n'est pas une identité sexuelle, une orientation sexuelle euh, 2023, nous avons estimé une autre catégorie de personnes. Ça n'a rien à voir cette fois-là avec l'orientation sexuelle, mais qu'on appelle les intersexués parce que ils étaient, à tort ou à raison, assimilés à ce que nous appelons, vous allez vraiment me pardonner l'expression, à ce qu'on appelle les homosexuels. Pardonnez-moi cette expression si elle ne convient pas. C'est juste pour des raisons pédagogiques que je suis en train de l'énumérer. Je ne peux pas dire que j'ai apporté ma pierre à la contribution de l'adoption de la résolution 552 parce que je n'ai fait qu'un plaidoyer que je vais dire modeste au niveau de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples pour expliquer à mes collègues commissaires qui étaient les personnes intersexuées, quels étaient les challenges auxquels ils faisaient face, quelles étaient leurs difficultés et comment on pouvait protéger cette catégorie de personnes, ne serait-ce que pour la raison suivante. On est intersexué, on ne le choisit pas. On est intersexué, on n'a pas été faire ce que vous appelez, vous les anglophones, surgery, des opérations chirurgicales. Même si derrière ça, je le disais à quelqu'un il y a quelques jours, à supposer que j'étais moi-même un intersexuel. Et que mon apparence physique, c'est là où je vais terminer, mon apparence physique est un homme constitué. Et que dans mon corps intérieur, je sais que le sexe qui est proéminent, par exemple, c'est le sexe féminin. Ou c'est le sexe féminin, par exemple. Je me sens femme. Et que je me fais désirer par les hommes. Vu que mon apparence physique, je donne l'impression d'être un homme, j'ai le phénotype, l'apparence extérieure d'un homme, tout de suite on criera qu'il s'agit d'un homosexuel. On peut raisonner aussi différemment, c'est-à-dire j'ai l'apparence physique d'une femme, mais que c'est mon organe reproducteur masculin qui est le plus prédominant et je me sens moi-même comme étant un homme. Si je me fais aimer par les hommes ou bien si je vais aimer d'autres hommes, on me traitera, ou si je vais vers d'autres femmes, on me traitera encore vice-versa d'homosexuel. C'est pour ça que je disais à mes collègues commissaires, we should be careful. As far as the African Commission of Human and People's Rights used to say, No one should be left behind. We should take care of everybody. Et je pense que les commissaires ont compris cette question et ils avaient dit, c'est vrai, ce plaidoyer, il vaut la peine d'être fait. Ils ont accepté d'adopter cette résolution. Je ne peux pas dire que j'ai assuré le leadership de cette résolution, d'autant plus que nous décidons de manière collective. C'est une décision aujourd'hui de la Commission. Quelqu'un n'est pas dans cette salle. Le professeur France William, j'ai demandé tout à l'heure où est-ce qu'il était. On m'a dit qu'il est en train de prester pour ses fonctions professorales en Norvège. Lui seul pouvait témoigner comment on s'est battu avec lui, comment il a amené des personnes intersexuées à la Commission africaine, je pense même à 2 reprises, pour que ces personnes viennent expliquer aux commissaires quelles étaient leurs souffrances. Les commissaires ont fini par comprendre, après 2 rotations de ces personnes-là, ce que c'était cette affaire d'intersexualité, en français, intersexualité. Vous pouvez toujours continuer à compter sur la Commission. Il y a d'autres batailles qui restent. C'est pas fini. C'est des batailles étapistes. Vous connaissez toutes les autres batailles qui restent. Moi, je passerai, je serai plus président un jour. Pire encore, je ne serai plus commissaire un jour. On va laisser la place à d'autres Africains qui arriveront, qui trouveront l'édifice que nous avons déjà construit, 275, 552. Peut-être il y aura une autre résolution qui arrivera, qui protégera encore sur ce qu'on appelle les droits sexuels, une autre catégorie de personnes. C'est vers ça que je voulais vous inviter à aller. Et c'est avec vraiment un grand plaisir, même s'il n'y a pas encore la version française, que j'ai vu the statutes of transgender and intersex persons in selected African countries. C'est très important pour divulguer le sort de ces personnes, pour que ceux qui ne connaissent pas cette réalité puisse s'en imprégner. Je voulais venir faire ce témoignage pour dire à ceux qui sont concernés par cette problématique de continuer à compter sur la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples, de venir toujours faire le plaidoyer ensemble, together. I am sure we are going to build tomorrow a best continent, a best Africa. I thank you very much. I will stay with you until the chairperson of NANHRI will launch the study. After that, I will apologize because I have other commitments at the NGO forum. I will be leaving you soon, but I'm still here until the chairperson will say to me, please, you have done your part of responsibility. You can leave us. Thank you very much.
African Commission on Human and People's Rights. My colleagues from the far end, Commissioner of Gambia, Chairperson of Sierra Leone, Chairperson of Uganda, Commissioner of Kenya. Before I proceed to do the launching, just some few words of reflection and acknowledgement. My first acknowledgement will go to the African Commission, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, the major human rights organ of the African mechanism on the continent. This has been a very groundbreaking 2 resolutions that anchor this report. I'm talking of the resolution 275 on general discrimination and violence against persons who are either imputed or have real gender identities and orientation. And of course, Resolution 552 on promotion and protection of intersex persons on our continent. I say it's groundbreaking because we have pretended as African regional mechanisms that were protecting all the rights of all our persons on the continent. But this is the first time that the marginalized, the vulnerable, those who society would want to hide away from the public have been recognized and given legal recognition and status. And that is very, very important. We need to underscore that. Now, I also want to quickly acknowledge the work of 9 national human rights institutions in terms of the feedback and the contributions they gave to the report that we are about to launch. And they are, in no particular order, Uganda, Kenya, Malawi, the Ombudsman of Namibia, the CNDH of Togo, Côte d'Ivoire, South Africa. We enjoy the fact that you have liberally fed the reporters, contributed your personal stories in terms of your countries to enrich the report. Of course, the report was put together by certain people. And there are 2 principal researchers that we want to acknowledge. Michael Nyako, my own kinsman, he's not here, but we would recognize him. And then Lakshita Kanhita. If I got the name wrong, kindly forgive me. You are the ones who put this groundbreaking report together. We need to acknowledge you. And of course, our own Arudi of the NANHRI Secretariat, who gave the oversight of the entire research. And that is why we are meeting here. We appreciate what you have done. Of course, as I indicated, the report is on the status of transgender and intersex persons on the African continent, 9 countries on the African continent. And that means, but for the resolutions which I have commended the African Commission of, we will not be having this research. For those who have been able to provide the financial support for this to happen, we're grateful for your support. And of course, we'd want to also underscore that this report came out of gaps that were found during the SOGI implementation. Those of us who know, NANHRI is running a project with the EU, NHRI EU project. It is in building the capacity of national human rights institutions that we realize that even those who are supposed to protect these vulnerable groups, their own capacity in that area was very, very low. And so the research is supposed to come and fill the gaps, capacitate NHRIs, capacitate CSOs, policymakers, in fact, everybody, because this has been a hidden secret in the open. Now it is going to be outlawed, so we can all have access to the information which certain people gave liberally of themselves. In addition to the NHRIs that I mentioned, the 9 of you, we also have the reference group, the SOGI project group, who really gave those interesting stories that we are about to adore. Of course, we also have certain partners all over the 9 countries, partners in the protection and promotion of LGBTI rights, who actually made sure that these stories came out and had been properly represented as research. And so, having indicated this background and these acknowledgements, I would like my colleagues on the high table to join me so that we can together launch this groundbreaking research report. Kindly take your copies and stand up so that we can, the cameraman can see us. Right? Kindly. I know I've taken you by surprise. Okay, right. Good.
Officially welcoming and launching this report. So we're going to have just a few findings before I invite one of the commissioners from Kenya to as well give some strength into this. So I'm going to share just why I'm in brief. So, as has been alluded by the chair of the Network of African National Human Rights Institution, the report was mainly conceived due to the gaps that we saw, especially in Cote d'Ivoire and Togo, with regards to the protection of trans individual and intersex individual. And therefore, we looked at the publications and the research such as that have been done within the African continent with regards to trans and intersex persons. And we realize that most of them share more of the lived realities in terms of access to health services, access to education, and things of that line. So why? We wanted to bring out a unique angle or a unique way to bring about advocacy and as well knowledge around trans and intersex rights. We wanted to look at the legal framework mainly because that has not been very well or holistically looked at when it comes to the various countries that we feature. We also wanted to bring about some of the best practices that have been noted within different parts of the continent, and you shall be able to see that at the very final pages of the research reports, where we bring best practices of legislative reforms and other protection mechanisms that have been put up across the world so that we can learn from each other and see how best to adapt them to our own realities and our own contexts. As well, we wanted to solidify the role of national human rights institutions and their role in protection of the rights of all persons, of course, based on the principle of equality and non-discrimination. And looking at the reports that have been done previously, we noted that the national human rights institutions are rarely a primary component within the research, and we wanted to as well strengthen the voice of the national human rights institution, educate the public on how to best utilize the mandates of the various national human rights institutions within their jurisdiction to be able to propel towards advancement of protection for trans and intersex persons. And as I already said and has been alluded to by the previous speakers, that is the chair of the commission as well as the chair of NANHRI, we also wanted to ensure that there's more solid information that can back up or buff up the realization of the implementation of Resolution 275 and Resolution 552. So within the report, you will find a lot of constitutional frameworks and the discussions around the different constitution and the legal frameworks in each and every single country that we have mentioned here. You will see a lot of court cases, which is a good thing because it shows that there is actual jurisprudence and precedence that has been set by our own domestic courts and various courts within our jurisdiction on matters trans and intersex persons. So you'll be able to see how did Kenya go about this case vis-a-vis Nigeria. If they haven't gone, then it gives you an opportunity for strategic advocacy. You will also see the some of the challenges that we've brought out in terms of legal recognition that has been mentioned in the earlier sessions of the day, so I won't belabor that more. You will find the criminalization as a very big factor in some of the legal framework. You will find the notion of hate speech and hate crimes, that as per now we have very few countries that have legislation that actually speaks on that, and we are proud of the South African Human Rights Commission that actually, I am aware, spearheaded this conversation to the adoption of that legislation within their countries, and therefore that is something that we need to as well look at. So with this report, you will be able to not only gain from the experiences of the various countries, for NHRIs, for CSOs, for anyone actually working within the human rights movement, be able to tap into some of the knowledge that you can derive from different practices. And in this, we hope that we will continue to foster closer collaboration between the NHRIs and the CSOs, because as per the Paris Principles that establishes the National Human Rights Institution, the fact of collaboration is one of the key components that actually makes an NHRI be strong and as well be accredited well within the accreditation process that goes on within the global National Human Rights Institution. So I do not want really to empty the research. I want you to have the juice and the eagerness to read through it. It's a heavy document in terms of it's simplified, but it has a lot of legal connotations and all, but it's also very informative and impactful, and I hope that it will serve the purpose that it deserves, way beyond Africa to even other continents. And that is the end of the findings. The reason why I'm giving the findings, and as mentioned by the chair of the network, is because the persons who undertook the research, they were to be here, but due to the flights, as you well know, in Banjul at this moment, they will be getting in tomorrow. So I'm just here to represent them, but they sense their appreciation as well for being part of this groundbreaking research. So thank you very much. Those are the summary findings. So moving on to just to get a few perspectives or reflection, I want to invite the Commissioner of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, Dr. Dennis Wamalwa, to give his thoughts or reflections on this. You're very much welcome. A round of applause, please.
Thank you, Arudi, this kind of a forum and for the report. I know we're getting tired, but I just want to allude to one thing, that I'm the first intersex person in Kenya to hold a state office in Kenya, in Africa, and in the world. I'm proud. Thank you very much. It's very easy, but at times they say you are born different to make a difference. So I'll not delve into that, but I'm here with my colleague from Kenya. Brenda is there, just to be part of NANHRI, because in this report on transgender and intersex person research in Kenya, we've been consulted as a commission, and indeed we've given some support, right, already. And so what I can say is this is the beginning. Of course, my colleague there can also say how much the Commission, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, is supporting the transgender and LGBTQ communities in Kenya in terms of protection. Of course, it's a small journey, but we're going to head there, Arudi, and so far, so good. So thank you, good people. I don't want to take a lot of your time. Chair, of course, I've interacted with the chair several times in Kenya. And we're here to support this launch. And we're really proud as a commission, greeting from all the commissioners who could not make it, just to be part of this. And we have their blessings. Thank you, Rudy, and the team.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want to welcome the final speaker from the CSO, because we are trying to foster that collaboration between NHRIs and CSO. So we'll have Mtukuzo, who represents Iranti, which works with intersex and trans work across the African continent, to give us a few remarks. You're welcome.
I'd first like to thank NANHRI for introducing such research that's very vital for the work that we do within the continent. And from now on, when people actually ask us, because constantly we're getting the same question wherever you travel, where is the research when you talk about intersex and trans persons within Africa? The research is here. Where are the lived stories of the so-called people that you claim exist in Africa that are trans and intersex? Their stories are also here. I want each and every person to use this as a tool for you to understand the lived realities of intersex and trans persons within Africa, and for you to understand the legal reforms that have taken place and the gaps that exist. And I'm very excited that such a document exists today, or such a book exists today, for us to be able to utilize in our different corners of Africa where we work and where we do our advocacy work. And again, I want to reiterate the point that the NANHRI team has not only created a tool that will be utilized by NANHRI and also the NHRIs, but it will also be utilized by us as the civil society organizations to advocate and to encourage our governments to push forward policies that are going to represent trans and intersex persons in the future. Thank you very much.
We have come to the end of day 2. I wish to appreciate all of you, and to close, we'll have the chair of Sierra Leone, Patricia, to give the closing remarks.
This particular document. For me, I see this as a clear indication, as provided for in the Agenda 2063, that indeed the Africa we want intends to leave no one behind. And as national human rights institutions, we have a responsibility to raise awareness. It is clear that everyone has rights, so it is necessary for us to go back to our commissions and see how we can also embrace categories of people that come to the commission within this group. Thank you very much. So for today, thank you for your contributions. It's been a very, educative session with all the panel discussions. I now declare this meeting for today closed. Thank you.
So let's give a round of applause.